Hello and good afternoon. Happy Friday, 1st of May. Woo, another month, and we're still here. So I have Gill Barham with me today, and she is in the lovely Canva crew, and she was asking about workbooks. So if you can tell us a little bit about what you do and sort of what you're trying to achieve with these things, so we can get a sense of who you are and what you need from this.
Okay, Marie-Liz, I'm really grateful that I'm getting a little bit of one-to-one stuff. That's really handy. It wasn't particularly what I was expecting, I have to say, so it's a bit of a bonus. Yeah, so I work in the wellbeing field, and also I'm a speaker coach. So creating online programs for me and delivering online programs is something that I've done before, and I'm also planning more of. So for example, I've got planned a 6-week speaker training course that I want to put together, and I've already delivered health and wellbeing courses, but at the moment what's top of mind is that I'm actually delivering a nutritional course for some recovering addicts. So I work with a house in Bedfordshire, in Luton, sorry, in Bedfordshire, Batten House, which is a charity, and they have inmates who are recovering addicts, and they've probably been, you know, they're not in the critical phase, but they are coming out and trying to sort of reintegrate into the world and managing to be a recovering addict, if you like, managing their lives. And what we know is that it's very common for people with addictions, particularly drug or alcohol addictions or whatever, for them to swap their addictions with food addictions.
There's a kind of, if you take something out, there's a gap there, isn't it? You have to fill it with something.
That's right. So sugar is particularly common, for example. And there's a lot of evidence that suggests that helping people with their re-establish their relationship with food, and obviously helping people to reacquaint themselves as to what eating well is, and trying to manage their blood sugar levels, which then manages their state of mind, physiologically creates a better balance so that they get less cravings, less effect from their stomach, because your stomach actually drives your brain. It's not the other way around. Yeah. So anyway, I'm delivering this project to them over 6 weeks.
And are you repurposing sort of content that you've already delivered? So it's just repackaging it and making sure it's all directed at them.
It's much more directed. This is a new project for me. Yeah. So a lot of my nutritional knowledge is actually going in, but it will be delivered in a slightly different way. So we're going to have 2-hour sessions over 6 weeks. Part of that I will actually be, they will all be interactive. They'll all be Zoom, but we'll do some cooking and things, but they'll be teaching at each session.
So will you be including some like recipes in there? It'll be is it sort of quite a lot of different types of information that will go in it?
Yes, so I want things in like basic information for each section. So there are 5 parts to the Freedom Food programme. There's 6-day, I'm not necessarily going to deliver a section at a time, but there will be moments when they'll fill out a questionnaire maybe, or they'll, as you say, they will watch me cook something and there will be recipe ideas. Yeah. We'll have some places for them to put their food diaries in, for example. So there needs to be lots of opportunity for them to keep engaged with this, and to have their own personal record that then they can take out of that facility and use for the rest of their lives. And just to tell you that it needs to be done so that they can complete it online.
Okay. In what sense do you mean complete it online?
They don't want me to produce it so that they can print it out and complete it. They'd like it so that they can actually use their laptops, so that they can, if I'm asking them stuff or they want to write stuff in, that it's a document that they can complete online. Is that possible?
Okay. So I guess sort of the way I would do it is create the sort of the designed workbook in something like Canva, or, you know, for me, sort of one of the other design software, I use something called Adobe Creative Cloud.
Yeah.
And then I would probably take it into Adobe Acrobat, which is the PDF program, but it's the professional
they can't
one.
manage it then, can they?
Well, the thing is sort of building the form so that they can fill things in. So they can then have the normal, just the Acrobat reader to open it up, because that's free to download, and then they can fill it in there. I don't know if there's a function within Canva to sort of make things sort of to sort of fill stuff in. So I'll have to sort of look into that and get back to you as to that. But in terms of the workbook itself, if we were to sort of assume that they, let's say for argument's sake, they could print it out if they wanted to. I guess there's another way around it, is to design sort of in effect backgrounds, and then bring it into something like PowerPoint or something that then you create boxes. So it may well be that for this case, because you want the interactivity online, we might need to sort of do a bit of a cheat and use a couple of programs. So whether it's, if you want it, say, A4 portrait, I would probably lean towards more having something like Word as the kind of the mechanism to hold it. So you could design it all nicely in Canva and have it looking how you want, and there are certain benefits to having it so it's fixed, you know, and then it would be inserted as a background for that page. So you would have multiple backgrounds, and then you would have some text sitting on top. Or if you wanted it landscape, which would make more sense for this case, because it's being filled out online, you know, most people have got devices where you're looking at a screen and it's a landscape format. So it would, for me, it makes sense to use that. In that case, I would suggest using one of the kind of presentation type templates, because it's already set up to landscape, and then you could bring in them as backgrounds into something like PowerPoint, and then it means that they can use Google Slides to edit it, which is free, or PowerPoint if they have it.
I think in this circumstance, I think Word is, and I know that it's that way. I mean, I don't expect them to fill things in whilst we're there necessarily, but I think having a workbook that they can, after the session, or before the session. So say if I send them a questionnaire, a health questionnaire, that it doesn't really matter whether it's portrait or landscape. It's the ability for them to be able to go and click boxes and fill in. That's what I really want. So I think the first idea, which is to create backgrounds and a style, and then put that into a Word document so that they can manage for this circumstance, because I'm not sure.
I mean, you can create landscape size documents in Word. So you could, if most people, you know, that they're more likely to be familiar and have used Word, at least to be able to sort of change some text. If you've got some text boxes which says put your answer in here, and they can fill it in, and you can lock
and the text boxes grow.
So that it would, so there is that possibility. Like I said, I would have to look in to see how interactive. It's not something that I've come across where people, I know that you can have, there is some dynamic content in Canva, in that you, like, if you've got links to a website, if you've downloaded it as a PDF, you can then, it's then a clickable link. However, if you're downloading it as a PNG file, as an image file, that clickable link is lost. So you wouldn't be able to have it as a clickable link if it's a background used in Word or whatever.
I get that.
So it's without looking in to see how clever Canva is whether you can do it all in one place. That is a way that I know that you could do it. It would be a bit of setup and fiddling around with things. But once you've got it set up, you can then repurpose it for other things.
Yes, that's true.
Out of interest, what have you been using to create content in the past, with you doing workbooks and things?
So I work on I work off a Mac, so I work on Word, and then if I want to put something out which I don't want people to alter, then I would just export it into a PDF.
Yeah. Okay, so you're pretty familiar with Word anyway, so you'd be quite comfortable using sort of some of the design features to sort of make something that looks a bit more designed in Canva, and so that it sort of looks nice, it looks on brand, but then having the functionality of Word that you and a lot of people have got some familiarity with.
I use PowerPoint a lot though as well. So if I want to create a slide, like a front slide for a podcast, if I want to create an image, and then I would screenshot that and use that as an image. So I use PowerPoint a lot for that as well, for design stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I should be using Canva for, actually.
Yeah, I would definitely say, sort of, as you get more familiar with Canva, if you can do it in Canva, you'll have not only more consistency in what you're creating, you've got more access to different fonts, and the templates tend to be a bit better. And that's not to say don't use like Word and PowerPoint. At the end of the day, they're all tools. I've created some great stuff in Word. I don't like using Word to design stuff, but you can do stuff, and it's just about understanding the limitations. Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll share my screen, and I've got your thing up ready to go. So we're logged in. This is actually using the desktop version of Canva, just because I thought I'd have a little go and see how it is.
How do you normally use Canva then?
I use it through, so there's, by desktop, I mean, it's the app, I've downloaded it. So I tend to use the one on the internet browser. And Tracy Robertson was saying that she got an email from Canva to say, would you like to test out the downloadable program? So I've downloaded
it.
Sorry?
And this is it?
Yes, it doesn't look particularly different. There doesn't seem to be any differences really, and you still need to have the internet running and working to be able to use it. So I had hoped that maybe at least you'd need to have the internet on to maybe save things or access pictures and stuff like that, but it seems to be, because I tried it out where I was like, what happens if I switch the internet off? And it just went so so it'll be, I can't see a reason why you would use it, but hey ho. Okay, so on here they've got, I mean, we can type in presentation, and you've got a couple of options that normally come up. So you've got presentation, which is that dimension, which I think is a bit more so it's a bit
presentation. Are we searching for presentation rather than workbook then?
So we can have a little try for both. The thing is that for what you're doing, I would imagine that using a PowerPoint, or not PowerPoint, but a presentation format might be just as good for your needs. You've also got the 4x3 one, which is probably slightly more closer to what we usually sort of see PowerPoint stuff done in, and it's slightly closer to, say, A4. You could also just create your own design and have it, if we were to do it so we knew that it was A4, so you could at least work with that, you'd make it millimeters, and it's 297 millimeters by 210, and that would give you a landscape A4 size. And you can search in templates, so we can search for presentation in here, and it will give different examples there. And we can see what it says for workbook. There's not really, the thing is with a presentation one, it will give you more options. It's usually like you'll have like multiple pages. you've got sort of all the different ones there. So it's just a case of looking at sort of the style. It could be, we could see if they have something for nutrition. Employee orientation. We've got some proposals. So typing in something like proposal, proposal's a good term. So if we go back to the home thing, to get an idea of the sorts of templates. So these are sort of maybe along more the style that you were sort of thinking. They have different things in there. So if we type in maybe proposal and see what comes up. So they got like things like marketing proposal, and it's just a case of having I mean, you're sort of getting a sense of, so if you, so the ones that say they've got different number of pages, you get, I don't know if you can see that, you can see a little preview, it will slide through. So most of these have got like a different, so if we click on this one, so if we apply all pages, so you could use this as the basis. The sizing looks like it's slightly out because it's trying to adapt what the template would have been, which may well have been like more of a full portrait. So it's trying to work it out. So you might need to do a bit of adjustment. So like here, you might want to bring that to the full edge. And of course you would want to change the colours. And it may well be that sort of that's not the right one. So, you know, you could have a look and see what other ones are. There's this one here. If we apply all of those pages, you might think, actually, I really quite like that as a look. And it's just try and think a little bit more as to the type of content that they've used rather than the picture. Like think about the blocks of text and stuff like that. You know, so you would be able to sort of do some bit. So like here is quite a good page, but again, it's working out how much text you need in there. So this one's got a bit more text. You can always add a bit more. So you could have like, that could be the question bit, and you could be like, okay, I'm going to probably put a text box in Word over the top of that, and then make sure, I would probably suggest, just to make life easier, I would probably make it so that like where you're going to have any writing is on top of like a white background or an off-white, just because then at least the text, you can just have it as default black rather than trying to be too whizzy and be like, okay, that's going to be white text on, it could cause, it might just sort of throw them a bit. So yeah, so where possible, if there's stuff that they need to fill in, make that box text to be, but yeah, so this could work quite well. And if you think about it, there's no reason why you can't break down like the questionnaire. So if you had this as the basis of your questionnaire document, for example, the document, the questionnaire section, you could break it down and sort of what, you know, like, I don't know how many questions are in there, but say you had 10 questions. Actually, if you think about when you fill in any forms online or surveys, often you have like 3 questions and then it's next, maybe 3 questions and next. So it makes it easier to sort of focus on those 3 questions that you're being asked, and then you move on to the next. So don't worry too much of thinking, oh, well, it's only got 3 sections there. I need, you know, I've got quite a longer. You could break it down. You know, you could mix it up a bit. So there's quite a lot you can do with it. It's just a case of looking in and see, and you can remove sort of some of these devices, or you can bring in sort of your own picture. You know, you could have that there and be like, actually, I don't want this bit there, that's nonsense. And so you could kind of, you can sort of declutter it. You can make sure that your colors, so you've got so Canva's quite clever now that it will pick up what the colors that have been used in the you know, on that page, I guess in this case. So you can bring in the colours that are there. So that, you know, I'm assuming are your brand colours. So you could have that.
Oh, that's really clever.
But just as a quick top tip before we finish off, because you may or may not have seen, make sure to get your brand kit sorted out. So in the free one, you can only update the colours. So you can do one brand palette up to 3 colours.
Yeah, I've got 3 free brands, and I've got the numbers of them, so I can just put that in there. Can I?
So it's really easy. So you could name your palette to whatever you want, and then you can add in, you can type in the code, the hex code there, and you can add up to 3 there. And what happens is when you go to like click on the colours for something, once you've done it, you might need to refresh the page or whatever, where it says underneath document colours, it will say the name of that palette. So whatever you've titled it, it will come up with that, and it will always be in that document, and so you know that it matches. Yeah, because this is quite clever because it's picking it up, but it's it may be picking up a slightly different version of the colour, and at least if you're setting it in the brand kit, then it means that you know 100% it's that correct colour.
Yeah, that's great. So how do I then get that off there and into a Word document?
So then what I would suggest you do is you would save it either as a PNG file or a JPEG, and save the whole thing, and it will save it as individual images, and then you would bring that in and set it as a background image at the very least.
Text boxes around.
But it would be a little bit of, there will be some sort of fiddling going on. So I guess you know, something that you might want to do is have anything that they need to type in, have it on the sort of on the left hand side, so that at least it's all ranging, rather than having floating text boxes. Or if you're using floating text boxes, make sure that they're anchored in place. And just be wary that things in Word move. So you're on Mac, you said. So when someone opens it up in a Word on a PC, it's going to adjust slightly. They don't look the same.
That concerns me a lot, actually.
So make sure that there's a bit of allowance, and it's just the kind of the compromise that you might need to make potentially. But as I said, I'll have a look into seeing how like what you can do with it within Canva. I know there are some additional things that it's linked to as well, so I'll have a little look and see.
That would be brilliant if you could. I mean, the other option I've got is just to create these kind of pages, but then insert blank or, you know, just ordinary opportunities for them to write, so they could have their notes pages in between.
Yes, and you could do.
I wouldn't have to worry about things scrolling and getting out of place when I send it.
Yes, you could do that. You could alternate with the information and question slide, and then on the next page the title could be a just like a line of text saying question 1 was this, question 1 was that, and then, you know, refer to page X being the previous page, so that they can get the full information, and you could do it that way. So that might be a better way of doing it. But yeah, I don't know if there is a clean, simple, easy way of doing it. It would be useful if they have got a feature to be able to sort of put sort of forms like that, and maybe they do. I haven't used it for that, so I don't know. I can't definitively say yes, but it's a great question.
Workbooks. I do like workbooks, but they are very limiting, because if they're printed out, you know, you've only got a certain amount of space, and we don't really want people to be printing things out now, do we? We want them to be able to kind of complete things online. So
No, but I would also keep in mind that there will be some people who will want to print it out. So having this big block of black is not great. So I would keep that in mind, that although you are intending for people to print, to do it and fill it on online in some form or digitally, then that there will always be someone who's like, no, I like to have it printed out. Or print out certain pages at least.
Yes, that's true. This was a specific request by, you know, the guy that runs it. I don't think that I would necessarily choose to do it this way for my own speaker course. But you know, this was the way that he said. I think if I overruled him and said, actually, this isn't going to work, I would like them to have it sitting in front of them, then it would be fine. But I definitely think it's worth exploring whether or not we can do this, because the function would be a great thing for everybody to be able to have.
So I will do some homework and I will get back to you. But in the meantime, that's maybe the workaround if Canva doesn't have an integrated function to be able to have fillable forms, so that may be the case.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining me, and for those watching this on replay, I hope you find it useful, and if you've got any questions, please share it in the lovely Canva crew group, like Gill did. And look what she got a little mini session, and it was good to learn and grow. I mean, I may sort of bill myself as the expert in Canva, but I by no means know everything. Every day is a school day and I'm learning more stuff, so it's exciting to sort of have this question and see how we can get it working. So I'm glad we did this, because obviously it's sort of understanding what the the course requirements are, or what's needed is slightly different. So it's if we'd just done a kind of just a comment conversation, I might not have gotten to that answer sort of as quickly. So I think this was useful. So thank you very much, Gill. Hope you have a good rest of the day, thinking of you, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.